Hello, Stormwater designers. Welcome back to Clear Creek Solutions instructional videos. And today we're starting a new series where we go over the Western Washington Stormwater Minimum Requirements. And this is based off of the Western Washington Stormwater Manual, which you can find. We'll have some applicable links for you down below in the description to check those out directly. We're finding a way to condense all those requirements and the material covered in the Stormwater Manual in these videos. Once again, I encourage you to, for all your decisions, look at the actual manual to make sure you're doing things correctly. But here we hope to provide a decent overview of the materials in the manuals and what sort of design aspects are involved when it comes to the Western Washington stormwater requirements. So a little bit about Clear Creek Solutions. We provide a complete range of hydrologic and stormwater modeling services. We've been doing it for 40 plus years with continuous simulation. We helped create the WWHM 2012, which is used to meet some of these minimum requirements, and we have developed similar software that's used up and down the entire West Coast. And we also teach workshops on WWHM, WIM-SWM, HSPF-SWM, and so on. So let's talk about the introduction and minimum requirement number one. So in Western Washington, and this is outlined in the Stormwater Manual, it outlines 9 minimum requirements for stormwater management of your project site. So there's 9 of these requirements. We're going to go through all of them. Some are easier to meet than others. Some are not even applicable under certain circumstances, but it's important to analyze each of these. And so in addition, a stormwater management and drainage report must be procured to receive approval from reviewers and the local jurisdiction. And then these minimum requirements serve a variety of purposes. And so these minimum requirements are put in place so that, we don't recklessly have stormwater designs that, damage the environment, damage the local economy, and also allow you to, do the development on your project site that you would like. So it's balancing all these facets. So let's make sure that we aren't reckless with our designs, that we are using, natural processes whenever possible to preserve the pre-developed conditions of your project site. And so they help to preserve natural conditions, prevent some erosive flows, and treat polluted runoff and many other things. And also some restrictions in there for when we're actually constructing the site and having an erosion control plan and things like that. So it's just encouraging engineers to be transparent about their project conditions and the solutions presented to best manage the runoff and stormwater from your project site. Now here's some resources here. They'll be in the description down below. One is the download link for the WWHM 2012, which is the stormwater model we use in Western Washington to help us meet some of these requirements for the site. And so that's the top link. The second one is the Ecology website, where you can find the Stormwater Manual that I'm going to be referencing here. And then we have a YouTube link right here, which goes to Clear Creek Solutions website, which can help teach you how to use the WWHM 2012, which will tie into some of these stormwater minimum requirements. So those are the 3 applicable links there. Check those all out. Make sure you read the materials on your own. So now let's talk about these minimum requirements. And so there's 9 of them. We'll start from the first one, where we have preparation of stormwater plans. Then it goes to construction stormwater pollution prevention plan, and then a source control plan, preservation of natural drainage systems and outfalls, on-site stormwater management, runoff treatment, flow control, wetlands protection, and then operations and maintenance. And so when it comes to stormwater modeling, 6, 7, and 8 are really the key ones when it comes to using the WWHM 2012, but the other ones are very important when it comes to creating your whole design, getting approved by the local jurisdiction, and aspects such as that. So we're going to talk about minimum requirement number 1, which is the preparation of stormwater site plans. So you want to go to that section in the manual if you're reading along. But all projects meeting the threshold in I3-3 applicability of the minimum requirements shall prepare a stormwater site plan for local government review. The stormwater site plans shall use site-appropriate development principles as required and encouraged by local codes to retain the native vegetation and minimize impervious surfaces to the extent that's feasible. So we want to keep the amount of impervious surfaces that we're adding to the site and removing the native vegetation. We want to try and keep that to a minimum, but still make it economical for the development of the site, because that's going to help preserve pre-existing conditions and support the water quality of the region. And then stormwater site plans shall be prepared in accordance with 3-3 stormwater site plans. So you want to take a look at that. And so, outlined in minimum requirement number 1, this is some of the aspects outlined in that I3 or 13-3, that the 2,000 square foot threshold for hard surfaces and 7,000 square foot threshold for land disturbance, as detailed, okay, that's in the 1-3-3, applicability of the minimum requirements are chosen to capture most single-family home construction and their equivalent. So we're looking at projects of that size and greater. The scope of the stormwater site plan only covers compliance with minimum requirements number 2 through 5 if the thresholds of 5,000 square feet of hard surface or conversions of 3/4 of an acre of vegetation to lawn or landscape or conversion of 2.5 acres of vegetation to pasture are not exceeded. And then you can also look at some of the other supplemental guidelines. The projects proposed by departments and agencies within the local government with jurisdiction must comply with this requirement, and the local government shall determine the process for ensuring proper project review, inspection, and compliance with their agencies. So you also want to check, because most local governments have their own version of the Stormwater Manual, which is heavily based off the Stormwater Management Manual, and they have their own requirements in there. So based on where the project is located, you're going to want to also look at those to make sure you're meeting those requirements. So really, it is just one big checklist for determining what you have to do for your project site and making sure you're doing everything correctly for the location. In terms of stormwater site plans, the stormwater site plan is the comprehensive report containing all the technical information and analysis necessary for regulatory agencies to evaluate a proposed new development or redevelopment project for compliance with stormwater requirements. And then the contents of the stormwater site plan will vary a bit depending on the size and type of your project, as well as the characteristics involved. And the scope of the stormwater site plan also varies depending on the applicability of which minimum requirements you're going to be achieving. If you meet these thresholds, maybe it's only 2 through 5, or it might be all 9. It just depends. And then state law requires that engineering work be performed by or under the direction of a professional engineer licensed to practice in the state of Washington, in this case. And the stormwater site plans involving construction of runoff treatment, BMPs, best management practices, flow control, source control, or drainage conveyance systems generally involve engineering principles and should be prepared by a licensed engineer. And then construction stormwater pollution prevention plans, or WSPPP, that involve engineering calculations must also be prepared by or under the direction of a licensed engineer. So here's what they outline as the 8 steps to preparing a stormwater site plan. Step 1 is analyze existing site conditions to determine LID feasibility. This may include the survey, soils report, and native soil investigation. Your second step is prepare the preliminary development layout. So you're going to fit development to the terrain to minimize land disturbance, confine construction activities to the least area necessary and away from many critical areas, preserve areas with natural vegetation. On sites with mix of soil types, locate impervious areas over less permeable soil, and try to restrict development over more porous soil or take advantage of them by locating bioretention or rain gardens. So well-draining soils, you don't want to put drain to those areas, because that water is going to end up seeping into the ground. Take advantage of that by using LIDs such as bioretention. Try to cluster buildings together, minimize the impervious areas, and maintain and utilize the natural drainage patterns of the site. Step 3, perform an on-site analysis. Ecology recommends that local governments require an off-site analysis for projects that add 5,000 square feet or more of new hard surface, or that convert 3/4 of an acre of vegetation to lawn or landscaped, or convert 2.5 acres of forested area to pasture. The fourth step is determine and read the applicable minimum requirements. So in I-3-3, you can read about the applicability of the minimum requirements, where there's a couple flow charts located there. We'll go to the flow charts in a different video, which helps you determine which minimum requirements apply. Determine whether minimum requirements 1 and 2 only apply to the project, or 1 through 5 only apply, or 1 through 9 entirely. Then step 5 is prepare a permanent stormwater control plan with existing site hydrology, developed site hydrology. Prepare a construction stormwater pollution prevention plan. And so we've kind of gone over what's included there. An adequate construction stormwater SWPPP includes a narrative and drawings. The narrative is a written statement to explain and justify the pollution prevention decisions made for the project. Should have concise information concerning existing site conditions, schedules, and other pertinent items. The drawings and notes describe where and when the various BMPs should be installed, the performance of the BMPs are expected to achieve, and actions to be taken if the goals are not achieved. Then step 7, you're going to complete the stormwater site plan with a project overview, existing conditions summary, offsite analysis, so on. So we're going to be looking at a lot of aspects there. Then check compliance with all applicable minimum requirements. A stormwater site plan as designed and implemented should specifically fulfill all minimum requirements applicable to the project. The stormwater site plan should be reviewed to check that these requirements are satisfied. So in conclusion, you'll want to prepare a stormwater site plan, determine all your project thresholds, analyze your conditions of the site, and develop a stormwater plan to meet these conditions and these requirements. And that's just step 1 of the entire minimum requirements. Is really the preparation that goes into the project to determine what you have to actually do, what your entire plan is, drafting that report, and getting prepared to take on the project. So that is overview of minimum requirement 1 and some of the material we'll be covering. The next video we'll look at minimum requirement 2. You should like and subscribe to see more of these videos, and we will see you guys next time.